We go to Dan Feidt. He's an internet developer, volunteer journalist with the Twin Cities Into Media, and a former political reporter for the Minnesota State Capitol. The cameraman who shot most of the video is not available, but one of the editors would be happy to talk, and that's the fellow that shot this. That's Dan Feidt, the person that put it up, so he can speak to it. And he's also been covering the preliminary trials of people and what people are being charged with. The young lady who the police come up and knock her down with a billy club with brute force, knock her down again, and she picks up her bike and just kind of tosses it at them. They've charged her with felony assault on the godlike stormtroopers. So now common law and the Bill of Rights says you can defend yourself against illegal assault. But they say no. And even people that didn't assault them, they're charging them with this. But the video that's gotten, last time I saw it, 60-something thousand views. There's a lot of other videos. We have similar video. We're just now getting uploaded. My guys just got back this weekend. When Rob Dew got out of jail, he came back and one of his best friends died of cancer. 30-something-year-old woman. Everybody's dying of cancer now. It's all part of, take your shots. Everything's fine. But cancer viruses are in it, but that doesn't matter if it's admitted. Just take them. Doesn't matter if it's in the insert. Just take them. Take them. Eugenics. But Dan Feidt, good to have you on with us. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. Good to talk to you, Alex.
Okay, you were there for this. You edited the video. You give us your boil-down take on the G20 police riots we witnessed, and culminating on Friday night with the assault on peaceful people in a park, hunting people down, and then what's happening now?
Sure, absolutely, Alex. Well, basically, I'm from Minneapolis, and I was motivated to come out and check out the G20 because last year we had the Republican National Convention come to town, which was another national security special event, another heavily militarized and federalized operation. It's kind of half security operation, half live exercise. No one's really accountable for anything in the Joint Command Center and all that kind of thing. So I felt like I'd already kind of seen the sort of tricks that they pull in the playbook they're using, and so I felt pretty prepared to figure out what was going on at the G20 and help the people that live here protect their constitutional rights and protect themselves from police brutality, use video and video cameras and being out on the streets to cover what's really going on, as well as expose police operations, such as the video with the 3 provocateurs in the march that
we're going to talk about that, but I wasn't there, but had my crew there, and watching all the hundreds of YouTube videos. It's safe to say this was a massive escalation from Denver or from Minneapolis, St. Paul, sound weapons, rubber bullets, bean bags, CS, tear gas.
Yeah, and all the different police units from different
police
parts of the
dogs,
country.
billy clubs. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, all the different police units from different parts of the country bring different weapons too. I tried asking them what their munitions were, and they didn't want to tell me. But yeah, I think the new precedent-setting thing is the idea that somehow somebody wants us to accept the idea that directed energy weapons, or the long-range acoustic device, the LRAD, should actually be okay with being used against American demonstrators in our own country. And I just, the big question is, well, who's pushing that agenda? Who's trying to tell us that that's normal?
We know the head of the Air Force says use it on Americans, then you can use it worldwide. If you can use it in Fallujah, why not use it here? Why not use swords?
Yeah, exactly. And so they're trying to, reset the norms of our society, and then they use really advanced, information warfare, kind of information operations tactics to manipulate the mainstream press. And
they admitted this was all a test with the Army and Secret Service and FBI. They're running it from a command center. Did you hear about my reporters got there Wednesday night, went and tried to talk to the military, and then they said that they ran and were maybe terrorists, and said they put them in databases, and I called the cops and they admitted it. I mean, these are sickos.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, is the national security special event, it's very clear that the normal, supposed restrictions of constitutional government get thrown out the window, and you have paramilitary operations. I mean, the thing with an NSSC is that there's so many different organizations involved, and it's totally kind of a collectivist, or no one's ever really responsible for any of the actions that are actually going on.
It's a mass bully feeding event.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to beat up young, good-looking girls, and, hey, did you ever want to attack an old lady lady with shopping bags coming out of a shop with a police dog. This is your chance. You wanted to be a Nazi? This is your chance.
Yeah, and the police are totally anonymized. Like, I filmed numerous, they were supposed to supposedly all be wearing armbands.
Secret police.
From the undercovers. Yeah, but they're not wearing armbands. You can't tell their identities. Quite apart from the undercover provocateurs, even the regular police, you can't find their armbands. They come from, Palm Beach County. They come from, Louisville. They come from across the country to do this stuff. And they're not really held accountable for anything they do.
It's like a big deer hunting event. It's like a big I mean, I've seen the Miami police who were there shoot a woman in the face with a rubber bullet for no reason and then laugh about it afterwards at the debriefing. Famous video of the Miami police from the World Trade Organization. But expanding on that, I'm sure you've seen the video of the men in fatigues in a Champagne police car grabbing somebody and dragging them. And then G20 said, well, those were private contractors. Have you found out who they were?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I did personally film another snatch squad that looked pretty similar, there were just snatch squads roaming around all over the place. That was another question we had from the RNC as well, is to what extent private security can do these kinds of things.
So snatch squads. Tell me about the snatch squads.
Well, it's just like you never knew when people would either, they would just pop up and just basically grab people. I mean, I was on a bridge and then all of a sudden a bunch of guys jumped out of a SWAT van and just dragged this kid right off. And I happened to get footage of that because I was right there and already filming. But, it's a sense of fear. It's basically trauma-based behavior modification. That's always kind of been the
in Baghdad, if you're a political candidate, even for high office who doesn't play ball, they admittedly just snatch you off the street, put a bag over your head, and murder you. So these are murder teams. Yeah,
speaking of bags over the heads, I have to tell you, a young man from Minneapolis who was videotaping with us, Nathan Monkelin, he was picked up really close to Luke Rutkowski down there on Friday night when they were, assaulting everybody down at the Cathedral of Learning in Pittsburgh, and they stuck him with 2 assault charges and set his bail at $8,000 with 2 assault felonies. He was videotaping, and the video evidence that he was taping would clearly show, the kind of police brutality that was going on. And so I think we finally got his bail lowered down to $800, so I think he's going to be out later today. But because they pretty much needed to stick someone from out of state with some felonies, they claimed that he was spitting, and they did put the bag over his head. And then, apparently the FBI was grilling him and all this weird stuff when they were being processed.
Well, Luke Radowski said that they stripped him down. He didn't tell the whole story on air, as it's embarrassing. Made fun of his private parts, basically. They did that. They took my guys to the bathroom, made fun of Dew. They then beat him with batons and said, this is happening because you were a TV star. And he said that Army was doing this with the FBI.
Yes. We do know that the military was all over the detention facility. Apart from that, it's simply an issue of what's the legal transparency here? Under what authority are these people operating? That's really the big question. I mean, that is really a core question. One thing I want to point out is that we need to know if any of these Army units were under Army Regulations 381-10, which is U.S. Army Intelligence Directives, which includes what they're allowed to do as domestic intelligence. We don't know if you will, the legal framework or the operating system of all these different units doing all these different things.
But here's an example.
We're being conditioned to accept it. We're being conditioned to accept that this kind of operation shouldn't be questioned. You don't know what's going on. And
we're being acclimated. But let me throw this at you because you sound really informed and it's refreshing. Here's an example. 3 or 4 years ago, it happened in Houston and Denver. So Texas and Colorado. They would call up high school students and say, if you don't come sign the paperwork to join the Army or Marines, I will put you in prison. This is an order from the president. You are drafted. Now, that was a total color of law lie. It was a fraud. Now, I said at the time, those men are following orders because it's the same script on the answering machines. They wouldn't be leaving this on an answering machine if they weren't being ordered to do it. The Army said, we will discipline them. They promoted both of the men to entire state-level recruiting when they were caught. So the point is, even their regulations are bad enough. That's for public consumption. They have a real operating system.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to throw in really quickly that you know, there were some raucous protests and there was some property destruction, but the police destroyed a huge amount of journalists' property. They destroyed a ton of cameras, a ton of video cameras. They take everybody's tapes, anyone that they get. So whenever Nate gets out of there, we're going to be lucky to even get our camera back, but it's almost a certainty that we certainly won't get the tape back. This is very systematic. This is because any single tape could hurt them in these lawsuits that are eventually going to come down. And that is part of this system, and, you know, no one's ever going to put the brakes on it. No elected official is going to say, oh, yeah, we can't keep stealing tapes, you know? So
well, we're about to go to break and come back and do one more segment with you on the provocateur cops breaking people's cameras.
Sure.
And this always gets confused, and I guess on purpose through a straw man argument. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all anarchists are feds. What I'm saying is they've been caught in Denver, Denver Post. They've been caught in Ottawa. Ottawa News reported that. They've been caught in France. They've been caught in Germany. They've been caught working for the police. That is, some of them. Yeah. Or police dressed up like them. And then the anarchists always send me emails and post articles saying, I'm a liar. I'm saying all anarchists are feds. That's not what we're saying.